You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. Welcome to the show, folks. Let me recut that again real quick. Well, hi, folks. This is Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. Welcome to the big show, as always, my family and friends. There you go. Welcome. One and all are welcome as long as you're a good person and not evil, and you're here to learn how to be a better good person if you are. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the TikTokity, and all those crazy places on the internet. Today we had an amazing young lady on the show. We're going to be talking about her book that's coming out on, May. I had it up here and it changed it on Amazon for me. We're going to say March 30th, not May, folks. I'm just winning here. March 30th, 2026. And we're going to get into it with her and her insights and how you can make your life better. Her book is entitled Cheers to Monday, the surprisingly simple method to lead and live with less stress and more joy, by Amy Leneker. On the show with us today, we're going to get into it with her and her insights and everything she does. She is an optimistic, joy-seeking, recovering workaholic. She's also a leadership expert, keynote speaker, and author of Cheers to Monday, the surprisingly simple method and lead and live with less stress and more joy. So welcome to the show. How are you, Amy?
Great. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Thanks for coming. We really appreciate it. Give us your .coms. How can people find you on the interwebs?
Sure. AmyLeneker.com. It's Leneker. AmyLeneker.com.
There you go. So give us a 30,000 overview. What's inside this new book?
Thank you for asking. Cheers to Monday is a joyful rebellion against the way that we're working, because the way we're working isn't actually working. Stress levels are high, engagement is down. And so this book takes a really different approach to managing workplace stress so that we allow more time for joy in our workday.
Oh, there you go. You want us to enjoy things at work? What kind of scam is this?
I do. I really do.
Who hired you? You're working for my boss, aren't you? No,
I do. And it's so interesting because, and you know this from your own life, that how we're doing at work impacts how we're doing at home.
Oh, yeah.
So part of my mission of creating workplaces with less stress and more joy is that it doesn't end there. The ripple effect carries over into families and communities far beyond work.
There you go. Communities and places far beyond work.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting, and people want less stress, more joy. What's this? Give us a little tease out. We want people, of course, buy the book to get the details, as they say. But what do we have to do? Do we have to create more boundaries? Do we have to move to a cabin in the woods in Montana, like that Unabomber guy, and like just live off a typewriter and don't talk to anybody? That sounds like a great way to have less stress and more joy.
Fortunately, no, you don't have to do anything that extreme. And in fact, the reason why it talks about a simple method is we've been overcomplicating our reactions to stress. And in fact, what I saw, I interviewed 150 leaders and I did focus groups. And what I found is that the ways we're trying to manage stress at work actually make us more stressed. And so this is about not overcomplicating it and instead just doing 3 really simple steps. So first, we got to see it. We got to see what are all the work stressors out there. Secondly, we sorted into actionable categories that we can do something about. And then third, we solve it using a really simple framework that wherever your stressor lands on that quadrant, you've got a next action to take. So it's incredibly simple. It's meant to stop the spinning and the overthinking that can happen when we're stressed.
There you go. When you're overstressed, that could be an issue. So there
Yes.
you go. There's a lot of like, you hear into things that you didn't hear back in the days. Like, your boss can call you 24/7, the
Yeah.
middle of the night, middle of the weekend, middle of your vacation, and be like, hey, you got to get in here. Or, we
Mhm.
need you to answer emails or get on the Zoom thing, whatever. And there's a lot of that going on where, some countries have actually, I've heard places like, what is it? Like France or other
Mhm.
places in Europe where they go, hey, man, people off the clock, you can't contact them anymore. Right.
Mhm.
And, that sort of thing. And that used to be the way it was. Like when my players are off the clock back in the old days, I mean, if it was after 5 and they were gone, you were just like, well, I'll talk to them tomorrow. You can
Mhm.
call them up at their house.
Sure.
Unless I don't know, you had some really major sort of thing, but a lot of stuff can wait till tomorrow.
Yeah.
Um, and worst case scenario, you send an email, but there's some people that they're trapped by emails, and I think one of the laws are in some of the other countries you can't email a person after hours
Mhm.
either. And do we need more of that in your research that you've done?
When you're raising an interesting point, because what you're talking about is that blurring between work and life. And you were describing a really simple work ends at 5 o'clock, and now I'm moving into my home life. And yet,
Mhm.
that's really not the reality of how many people are working today. And if we look back, it really escalated during the pandemic.
Yeah.
During the pandemic was the first time that we ever saw a separation of work and life as one of the key factors, one of the root causes of burnout.
Mm.
And it makes sense, doesn't it? Because
Yeah.
people were working at home and they were living at work. I mean, it was all just one thing.
Mhm.
And even though, of course, the pandemic is over, I don't believe that we've come back to a better boundaried way. And that's
Mm.
certainly not true for the leaders and teams that I work with.
There you
It's
go.
much closer to what you were describing, the always on, always feeling some sense of desire to be connected.
Yeah. And yeah, you're right. I hadn't really thought about that, how COVID had kind of, everyone's suddenly working from home. So you're working and living at home and
Yeah.
kind of broach those things. And now that we've kind of come out of it, it seems like the expectation is still, well, you're still at our beck and call,
Yeah.
which is more like slavery as opposed to,
Mm.
I mean, I used to have this, one of my girlfriends used to be a flight attendant. And so she would fly to 2 different cities sometimes during a day and then fly back, or she'd have to
Mm.
stay overnight and fly back. And I
Yeah.
remember saying to her, she's like, "Oh, I have this great job," and I mean, it is a good job,
Mhm.
but I said, one of the problems is you're only paid to fly the one way. You're if she's not sitting on the, sometimes they just ride along to
Mhm.
come back, but you're only paid for one way. So if you fly to Chicago, you're only getting paid to fly to Chicago. You don't
Yeah.
get paid the hours that you spend there overnight or the flight back in the hours of flight back.
Right.
Technically, I used to tell her, I'm like, if I'm away from home for work, you're paying me by the hour. That or you're
Sure.
paying me an incredible sum that when I equate it down to the hour, you're paying me. And I think on 2 of my girlfriends that were flight attendants, I pretty much figured the hours they were putting
Yeah.
in were basically minimum wage.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because I mean, sometimes they couldn't get back right away. And so
Mhm.
they'd have to stay overnight. Now they do get a free hotel and they do get a free
Mhm.
taxis and they get all sorts of reimbursements for food
Sure.
and stuff, but you're still not home. Because
Yeah.
I'd be like, I still don't have you. Like I'm just sitting
Right.
here at home going, I have a girlfriend, but I don't.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a hard schedule, and I can certainly see how there are different seasons of life where probably that schedule might make more sense than in other
Sure.
seasons of life, I
Yeah.
would assume.
I mean, if
Yeah.
you're single, it's great. You can,
Sure.
you go to another city and, a lot of people love being flight attendants because they can travel and see the
Yeah.
world and, it gets, and they got great benefits too and stuff like that
Mhm.
from what I understand. But yeah, I was just like, no, man, if you equate the hourly and break it down. So what do we need? Do we need more boundaries? Is boundaries the key word? What is it that we need?
Boundaries are a huge piece of it, and I think even
Mhm.
before boundaries, what I encourage the leaders and teams that I work with to think about is awareness.
Mm,
So many people are just not even aware of how much stress they're carrying.
yeah.
And I've done this exercise with so many leadership teams, and I'll ask them on a scale of 0 to 10, how challenging has your stress been? And then they share the number. And it is not uncommon at all, Chris, for a leader to share a number and have the rest of the team shocked.
Wow.
So I've had it where a leader said, I'm a 2, maybe a 3. And the rest of the team is staring at them going, no way, you're an 11 on the 1 to 10 scale. So just completely unaware of how they were showing up at work, completely unaware of how their stress was impacting other people.
Yeah.
So I think even before boundaries, which there's no question are important, I think we actually have to start with awareness.
And I think, do a lot of managers need to start being empathetic toward this as well and stop going, yeah, I quit being a dick. If this can wait till tomorrow, when I see them, let's do that. Let's let's try and think of our employees' mental health for a change, maybe.
Mhm. I think managers are part of the puzzle, but
Mm,
they're not the only part of the puzzle. And
mm,
I say that because having been one, I remember feeling like, gosh, it's so easy to blame a manager, but it takes a manager doing exactly what you just said.
mhm,
Then it takes leadership not putting unreasonable amounts of pressure on managers. And
yeah.
it takes the people reporting to the managers to be on the same page. So absolutely yes. And it's when the whole system works together that you can finally start to see some meaningful change.
There you go. Sounds like more CEOs and leaderships need to embrace this policy. I mean, the other game that causes stress, I think, to people, and you're the pro on this, so you can tell me whether on this question. But
Mhm,
it's one of the things that as an employee you're sometimes fearful of is FOMO, fear of missing out,
mhm.
and oh well, maybe if I don't take the boss's call at 9 o'clock at night, he's going to call my competitor fellow employee who might get the promotion over me if I don't put in that extra effort. And I've done that a lot at where I've worked for other companies or even my clients. I put in extra effort for them
Yeah.
and I think it will get recognized and it doesn't.
Mhm.
And so is that an issue too? The FOMO, the like, well, I got to keep up with the Joneses at work.
I think it's absolutely a part of it. And I think
Yeah.
what starts out as feeling like you're doing something above and beyond, like, oh gosh, I'm on email at 11 o'clock. That's something unusual. Suddenly just becomes the norm.
Hmm.
And so many people that I work with are in meetings all day, every day. And so the only time that they have to do non-meeting work is after the workday ends. So it's not so I think the FOMO thing is real. I agree
Yeah.
with you. There's no doubt that that's true. And I think there are some folks who would be just fine missing out, but they're
Mhm.
on email because they're trying to get ready for the next day.
Yeah.
They're trying to respond to everything that had come in earlier in that same day. And so it's this bigger look at how are we structured at work? Do we have too many meetings? And chances are the answer is yes, because I've never yet worked in an organization that said, we need more. We need more
Mhm.
meetings. So I think it's a great way to look at that of how to get some time
Mhm.
back.
I think leadership needs to set the standard on it. That's usually the people who need to put their foot down
Yeah.
on stuff. I mean, uh, people need downtime to refill their bucket
Yeah.
and refresh. And the other thing is too is they need to be with their families. They need to,
Mhm.
assuming they like them. We found out COVID, a lot of people didn't like their family,
Yeah.
and it's like, I can avoid you guys for most of the day, but no, I can't, and I
Right.
really hate you people. But hey, it's not my problem.
Mhm.
But they need that downtime. They need that
Yeah.
time to reset. Even me as an entrepreneur, where we live, drink, sleep, eat, drink, business. I mean, I
Mhm.
have dreams of business.
Yeah.
I remember years ago when I had three companies at the same time I was running.
Wow.
I would just sit and go, "Can I please have a dream about a Bo Derek running down the beach or something?" Just
Anything other than a business.
anything other than business. Like I would
Yeah.
dream about who was going to fire the next day and how that would play
Sure.
out, what the meetings I was going to
Yeah.
have, the negotiations I was going to. I would dream like my whole next day, and
Wow.
then I'd have to go do the next day,
Right.
and I'd just be like, for the love of God, can I
Mhm.
just think about beaches and
Yeah, that's all consuming.
yeah, but people need their downtime. They need to reset. Certainly, I think as a leader, you have to look at your people and go, not only do they reset, it's important that they spend time with their families
Yeah.
and check in with them because. I learned as a leader, if you don't have family support for the work they're doing, the
Mhm.
hours they're putting in,
Yeah.
especially if it's overtime, they're going to have problems.
Yeah.
And, a lot of my guys are usually sales guys. So
Mm.
if their home life is mucked up, they've got issues and problems, you're never home long enough.
Sure. And the research backs up what you're saying. There's a study that talked about 70% of people who have had a divorce or had a breakup with a significant relationship attribute work stress as one of the main
Really?
causes.
Wow.
70%. And what's even more interesting to me, that number jumped to 79% for Gen X.
Really?
So the sales guys that you're talking about, the ones who are saying, gosh, I'm having a hard time balancing this demanding job and trying to keep it all together at home, that is not unusual. That's the norm. We're seeing it in 70% of people. And there's that ripple effect that we talked about earlier, that when we don't have this work stress figured out, it ripples fast and furiously through our lives.
Yeah. And so many times we think about, well, we're paying them well, so they must be happy, that sort of thing. We're giving them plenty of pizza lunches, a kind of running joke there on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Let's have a pizza party.
Yes.
We just rather have more money, please.
Exactly.
Or less hours, or, and to me, I mean, like I've asked myself many times, can this wait till tomorrow? Yeah, that can wait till tomorrow. No one's going to die. Everyone's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Unless it's some sort of emergency, like, hey, where are the keys to the office? Because we can't lock up, or, something like really crazy, or, something's on fire and you got to try and put it out. But other than that, so do I need a restraining order from my boss? Is that how this works, to get them to quit calling me after hours? Like I have to have a specific restraining order served on them that you cannot come within 500 feet of Chris Voss from 6 p.m. to 8 a.m.
So I don't typically talk about restraining orders in my work as a leadership consultant, but I do
There's
talk
still
a
time.
There's still time. But I do talk a lot about team agreements. And that's
Okay.
just as simple as what's okay and what's not okay. So it's okay to reach out if there's an emergency. It's not okay to expect a response. I mean, just having those really simple agreements on a team. Where I see conflict often arises is where we hold people accountable for things they've never agreed to. And that's a recipe for disaster. So we've got to take the time to figure out, well, what is okay and what's not okay, and how we're going to work together. And then we've got something that we can hold each other accountable for.
Yeah. Then we'll have something that we can hold each other accountable for. Yeah, it's it's just, I can see it playing on the fear of missing out, where people, I got to answer my boss, and it does seem a little much of a hindrance. Like, let people go cool out. I'd rather have you come back to work feeling refreshed, and you've taken care of, balanced out your life with some other stuff. But man, I'm an entrepreneur. I've worked all my life 24/7, sleep, dream, eat, poop. Everything I do, I'm doing business usually when I do it.
Yeah.
Even when I'm asleep, I'm like, I don't know, doing counting for my company or something.
Your brain is still going.
My brain is still going 5 plus 10. They go to the road.
Yeah.
And how are we going to meet the month-end quota this soon? That sort of thing. But how does an entrepreneur like me, who I am my own boss, one of the things I have struggled with this, I wrote about my book Beacons of Leadership, where I had to start teaching myself to take breaks on weekends and to go chill out, have downtime, celebrate, have some gratitude, also kind of spoil myself. I usually try and take myself or whoever I'm dating out to a really nice, beautiful dinner, maybe out to the theater. And I do that because during the week, if I start kind of going, I can go, hey man, you know what? Saturday night, you got a wonderful date. You're gonna have some great food. You're gonna have a beautiful steak, and it's just gonna be a great time. And that's your reward. So just get through the week. And I just kind of treat myself like a dog. There's always a reward.
Well, it's actually a great strategy. This idea of recognizing that there's going to be cycles, and you're overworking and then you're resting, and having a cadence that makes sense for you and your life. And I think you're hitting on something really important for you as an entrepreneur. And also, I see this happen for people who do work in organizations, that sometimes we're our own worst enemy. That sometimes those really hard deadlines or those really tough expectations are coming from us. We're doing it to ourselves. And so there's this awareness piece. And that's what I'm hearing you describe, that you've really honed that over the years of an entrepreneur, figuring out what is urgent and when do I need to actually take a step back and relax.
Yeah. And And I still to this day struggle with it because I'm like,
Yeah,
but I know there's 500 things I got to do at
of
work right now.
course.
And yet, if you can take a break, you come back refreshed, you come back clear eyed.
Yes.
Sometimes you can look at your work and whatever sort of problem you've been trying to find the answer to, you can suddenly see it because
Yeah.
you stepped away from it. You
Yes.
know, I do that with photo editing. When I'm editing photos, I'll edit
Mhm.
one photo at a time, and then I'll take a break, maybe do another photo edit the next day from a shoot.
Yeah.
And I try and break it up so that I can come back with kind of a fresh perspective. Because
Mhm.
sometimes you get so deep in the weeds, you can't find your way out, and everything you see
Yeah.
is weed, and
Yes.
you're just like you just scrambled, and then you're just kind of feel reactionary as opposed to um proactive.
Mhm.
So
And you're describing something that actually happens in the brain. The default mode network is that part of our brain that actually engages when we're not focused on something. It's why so many great ideas come when you're in the shower or you're
mhm.
taking a walk or you're driving. One of my favorite examples is how Paul McCartney wrote "Yesterday." Are you familiar with how he did it?
I'm not. It's not coming to me off the top of the head.
So the story that I've read is that he woke up with the melody in his head.
Mhm.
And it was so good that he thought, "There's no way that I didn't steal this."
Oh
So
yeah,
he went
you
around
thought somebody
asking.
else wrote it, huh?
Yeah, like, clearly
Mm.
this, so we went around asking, and everyone's like, "No, we've never heard that, but it's great." And so then he wrote the lyrics and, of course, made musical history. But it's that idea that it came to him while he was asleep, like, you've actually got to give your brain time to turn off, as you were describing, and then that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, yeah, that's where the magic happens, as they
Yeah.
say. Um, yeah, it's sometimes taking that break from things and just kind of seeing if it really is. There's a lot of great songs that were written that way too,
Yes.
where the contributors that were like, I don't know, I had this thing kicking around,
Mhm,
I think like Enter Sandman Lick was kicking around for a while for Metallica, and
mhm.
I remember like Black Sabbath. They hated the song Paranoid. They didn't want to put on the
Oh,
album. They thought it was a goofy, you know, kind of pop spin-off, which wasn't
mm,
really their style. It's one of the greatest hits. And there's a lot of songs like that that
yeah.
people just never thought they did. What are some other suggestions that you have in the book that people need to maybe start incorporating to kind of take back their home life, personal life?
I think one of the most important things that we can do is to start normalizing having conversations about stress at work.
Mm,
And so the simple question that I shared with you that I ask leaders and teams on a scale of 0 to 10, how challenging has it been? But actually starting to normalize conversations about stress. The latest report from the American Psychological Association showed that over 80% of American workers are experiencing stress at work. That's a lot. And so even if you're not, even if you're listening to this and you're saying, I don't really feel stressed out at work, it's worth noting that 80% of your colleagues might. So just that awareness, just that ability to start talking about it, because the sooner you can intervene, the better. It's
mm,
much easier to figure out how are we going to manage stress than it is to figure out how are we going to recover from burnout. The
mm.
sooner you can catch it, the better. And that comes through conversations and dialogue on teams.
Mm, there you go. And yeah, maybe more people need to have this conversation or
Mhm.
approach this conversation with their company. Like, how can
Yeah.
we have a better work-life balance? I mean, is work, I've heard some people say work-life balance is BS. You hear all sorts of things on TikTok and the internet, and people dropping all sorts of attention
Mhm.
posts and hustle, whatever they're doing. And some people said, hey, you need to have work-life balance. Some people say, it's BS. Blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
What have you found? Is work-life balance really that important? Is that what we're describing here?
Here's my take on it, and I feel really strongly about this, so I apologize in advance if I come across as emotional. So so I don't like the term work-life balance because
Mhm.
I think it sets us up to fail.
Mm.
Because balance by definition means at any given time you have two things that are equal. Never gonna happen between work
Ah,
and life. Never
yeah.
gonna happen. And so for me, when I was a young mom in a leadership role trying to achieve work-life balance, it was impossible, and I felt
Mm.
like a failure every single day. If we let go of work-life balance and try something different, if we try to achieve work-life harmony,
Mhm.
now we're onto something.
Ah,
Because
harmony.
harmony is different. Harmony doesn't mean that these two things are equal on any given day. Harmony means that it's in a mix that's uniquely satisfactory to me. So
Mhm.
what works for me for work-life harmony might look really different than it does for you, or really different than another colleague. So it's figuring out what is uniquely satisfactory to me in this season of my life, which is very different than trying to balance these two competing things on any given day.
There you go.
That's
Work-life
my take on
harmony. You know, I mean, technically you're home if you work 8 hours a day on average.
it. Yeah.
Technically you're home, what is it? 8 minus 24 is,
Mhm.
16?
Mhm.
Yeah. So
And
you're
asleep
home
for
twice as
some of that.
much as you're at work, or you're supposed to be, assuming you
Mhm.
sleep.
Mhm.
You know, one of the other things I saw, I don't think I brought this up, but we touched on it a little bit, but during COVID and after, and it might still be going on. I don't work for other people. There was, you know, my friends that work for these big companies, they were losing their minds with like 20, 25 Zoom calls a
Oh,
day.
yeah.
And it was just back to back sitting there and during Zoom calls that
Mhm.
90% of could have been an email.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
it's always the guy who just wants to hear himself talk.
Yeah.
Wait, is
Yes.
that me?
And research shows that too. Microsoft did studies during the pandemic, and they found that their use of Teams, so their number of meetings, tripled during the
Trip.
pandemic. Tripled. And it makes sense, doesn't it? Because suddenly meetings got shorter and they just became back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
And what used to be some time allowed for, I've got to walk down the hallway or I've got to drive to another location, all of that buffer time went away. And
Mhm.
meetings were just stacked one after another after another. So, yes, the volume absolutely increased. And we've got the data to back that up.
And I think a leader or a manager should say, "Hey, look, these Zoom meetings are great, but
Yeah.
give people an hour break between them." You know, I even, you know, I we do 3 podcasts today. At one
Yeah.
point we were doing 4.
Yep.
And the one thing I found out very early on is I can't do them back to back.
Yeah.
I need like 2 hours between them.
Yep.
And I think we have it at 3 now. Let me see here. It's 2.
Uh-huh.
But we have a standard 2 hours you can't schedule. There's a 2-hour
Yep.
block that's in there. And I take Fridays off. And I
Great.
started about what is it? I think about 3 or 4, 6 months ago, maybe. I
Uh-huh.
started taking Fridays off
Mhm.
because, you know, I do 3 hard interviews with people. I love
Yes.
interviewing people, but to be on, to be funny, to be interesting, and you know, try and
Mhm.
write jokes in your head as you go and stuff.
Sure.
It's a lot of work to do a show if you do a
Absolutely.
great show.
Yeah.
And we're still, you know, we're good at it. We're not great at it, but we're working on it.
I think
Um,
you're great at it.
I'll get there. Thank you. Um, but we're always striving for perfection. But you
Yes.
know, as soon as the show goes, the curtain comes down, and I say goodbye to the guest.
Mhm.
It's like I kind of like I'm like one of those uh, balloons that looks like
Oh, just
somebody. I just kind of
yeah.
decompress, you know,
Yes. Yeah.
and I got to go someplace quiet and
Yeah.
try not to murder anybody for like
Mhm.
I don't know 15, 20 minutes while I
Sure.
decompress. And by the third show, it's hard to maintain that level of being on because
I
I have
can
to be
see
on
that.
as a host. And so by usually after 3 shows, I'm pretty cooked for the
Sure.
day. And so I started taking Fridays off
Mhm.
because I do more podcasts per day than a lot of people do, probably 99.9% of podcasters. And so we hit it hard. And Monday through Friday, I do my little gig. And I
Mhm.
know that Friday, I get to go do the thing. One of the problems I was having, and you know, part of it is my age. If I was younger, this wouldn't be a big deal. I'd probably do 10
Mhm.
a day. But uh and it's the sitting too that kills you. I think that's what
Sure.
really drives people crazy on the Zoom calls. You're just sitting there
Yeah.
and you know your legs are going numb and your brain's rotting and you're
Mhm.
drooling on the side of your mouth and you know on the keyboard and it's not a good look for promotions with the boss.
Right, not a good look at
Yeah.
all. So you've
Bob, are
been
you
doing
drooling?
yeah. So you've been doing it for a few months now, these
Yeah,
Fridays off.
6 months now. I
How
take Fridays
6
off.
months? So
I
what are you
love it.
noticing? I'm so curious. Tell me about
S-
tell me
s-
about the what you're seeing as being different.
So one of the problems I was having is I do Fridays as work
Okay.
before this. And so I do 5 days of work and 2 days of no work. Well, Friday night, I feel just run over like a bus by the end of the
Mm,
week.
yeah.
I feel just run ragged. And so Saturday, I'm usually sleeping in a little bit. I'm wandering around trying to have a coffee. I'm trying to enjoy my day. And, and then usually I'm trying to get, I'll have a date on a Saturday. And so
Mhm.
I'll like, be trying to, now I got to go entertain somebody else
Sure.
and be on, if you will.
Mhm.
And that or I go do photo shoots and photo work and photo studio work. Then I have to be on again.
Yeah.
And by the time I really feel decompressed, it's Sunday
Right.
and I'm mounting into Monday, right? I'm
Mhm.
like halfway through I'm like 4 o'clock on Sunday going, I finally feel at peace.
Right.
And what's funny is Sunday is my great gratitude for gratefulness day, I call it.
Okay.
And so Sunday is my day. There's no dates allowed on that
Yep.
day. It's my day. I take myself out to dinner on that day. I go do things with my
Great.
dogs. I go edit photos and I kind of archive my life. I kind of take a look at what happened the week before, where
Mm.
things are going in the future. I organize some of the backups on my photos and myself. And it's kind of like Hugh Hefner used to have one day out of the week. I believe it was Thursday, where he would do his archives. No
Hmm.
women allowed, no visitors allowed. He goes in his library and he just kind of enjoys his life. He gets to, okay, what pictures do I want to put in my
Okay.
archive and what I want to do? And some planning goes into it too, where you kind of plan the next week. And I can just slowly mount the next week. I can look at, okay, where's my appointments? Looks like I've got this
Mhm.
going on. And I can slowly start kind of absorbing the upcoming week without just like in your
Yeah.
face, you know. And it's
Yeah.
been a godsend. I'm
Oh,
more
good.
productive. I feel better. On Friday, I'm kind of sitting around doing things and I'm starting to decompress.
Mhm.
Everyone's out working. I will answer like emails and
Mhm.
text messages and stuff, but,
Sure.
no fires. I'm not meeting
Oh,
people, not performing, and I'll just kind of pace myself through it.
yeah.
And I mean, it just feels great because
Mhm.
Saturday, I feel fully refreshed. I
Right.
feel Friday's got me out of the can.
Yep.
I'm out doing my errands or whatever I need to do instead of wasting that time on Saturday. Because that's what a lot of
Mhm.
people are doing on weekends. They're just
Yes.
running errands and doing
Mhm.
probably clothes and washing and, trying to
Yeah.
get the house vacuumed. And, it's just running, running, running.
Mhm.
And so by Saturday, I feel decompressed
Yep.
and I can sit and enjoy my Saturday and then I can
Yep.
move into my Sunday
It's
and then I
great.
can start mounting up for Monday
Mhm.
and maybe, plan some things like, yeah, what should I do in the future? And
Mhm.
stuff, and I love it. I mean, I've been telling all my friends, now I understand the 4-day work
Yep.
week and why. And I'm a guy who's had thousands of employees.
Right.
Um, I've had thousands of employees underneath me through over 35 years of work, and
Mhm.
I can tell you, they're not working much on Friday. I don't mean to throw everyone under the bus, but a lot of people aren't. They're starting to tune out. They're watching YouTube videos at work. They're starting to, I don't know, plan their party that night
Mhm.
on Friday night. A lot of people are, I mean, they're just winding down mentally, right?
Sure.
And so it's just a throwaway day as far
Yeah.
as I'm concerned. And I can see why countries now, like European countries, are saying, hey, it's just a 4-day work week.
Mhm.
And I got to tell you, I'm more efficient than I've ever been. I've made more money in the last 6 months than I have
Congratulations.
for a long time since before the
Uh-huh.
collapse of the 2008 mortgage crisis. It's made me much more successful, and I just feel more fulfilled too.
Great.
Like there's nothing I can't tell you, when you get to the end of Friday and you're just like,
Mhm.
"Oh, thank God it's Friday." I get
Yes.
to Thursday and go, "Thank God it's Thursday. This
Yeah.
is my Friday night." And people are
Yes.
like, "Are you okay, man?
Yeah. What's up with you?
What's up with you? You still got Friday." And I'm like, "No, I don't got Friday. No
Well,
Friday."
and you said a phrase a couple of times that I picked up on where you said where it feels like you've always got to be on. And I think
Yeah.
this idea of really paying attention to how we're wired and what
Mhm.
brings us energy versus what gives us energy, and because that's connected to our stress levels too.
Mhm.
And so your ability to be self-aware enough to say, gosh, after all of this interaction, I
Mhm.
need some downtime, where other people might need to recharge in a very different way. And
Yeah.
I think that all helps with our stress joy
Yeah.
balance. exists.
What about murdering people that piss you off? That tends to help with my stress and increases my joy.
No comment.
But the judge says I can't do it anymore. So damn
No
judges.
comment. Yeah,
Yeah. He seems biased to me. I think he has some I
hard
think
to
he has
say.
something against me. But no, I mean this is the schedule that keeps me from the murdering.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
basically what we're talking about.
And I love how you were describing Friday because that's how most people describe Friday. You
Mhm.
walk into the office and people are saying happy Friday or have a great weekend. There really is
Yeah.
there's a different sense of the world on that day. I'm a certified mediator. I specialize in workplace conflict. I can count on one hand the number of mediations I've done on a Friday.
Oh,
People
really?
are people are not thinking I'm going
You're
to dive
checked
into a
out.
deep hard conflict on a Friday. It
Yeah.
doesn't happen. And so that was kind of the cheeky title of the book came from that, which is, well, what if we could feel like that at the
Mhm.
start of our week?
Yeah.
What would that be like then? If instead of our
Yeah.
life being a countdown trying to get to something else, what if
Mhm.
we could begin it that way? What would it
Yeah.
take and the organization would have to do in order to build that kind of a culture?
Cheers to Monday, the title of the book. Yeah, the and there's kind of a you go through when you decompress, right?
Yes.
You're kind of this high stress level, and then you go down, and you're kind of living in that cabin in Montana, writing hate mail and manifests or something,
Mhm.
and then you start feeling good, and then you come up and you're
Yeah,
feeling up, and I got to tell you, by Monday, I'm happy to be on Monday.
that's
Because
great.
I
Right.
basically get a 3-day weekend.
Yes, every week. Yes.
Imagine, folks, if you could do that. You guys who work for people and every now and you get that rare 3-day weekend. I do it every week.
Yeah.
So hate me. You can send your
That's
hate
so
mail to
funny.
Chris Voss. Don't give a
I love that you're doing that, and why not? I
I
mean,
think more people
there's the
should.
thing about recognizing
Yeah.
how many of these constraints are we putting on ourselves,
Yeah.
and so to try and I would assume if I see you 6 months from now, you'll still be doing Fridays off because
I
why
think
would
I
you ever go
will.
back?
Yeah, I think I will. I don't it I'm more productive.
Yes,
I doubled my income last year, and I think that's one of the biggest
fantastic.
contributors because I really accelerated when and it's really hard to double my income.
Yeah,
I was kind of surprised too. I was like, wow.
incredible.
And yeah, and so by the time I come up the U where I'm feeling all good and happy
Yep,
and I've got my Sunday of gratitude and I'm just spending times appreciating life and my
mhm,
quality of life and what I can do maybe to improve it in the next coming week.
sure.
And so by Monday, I hit Monday refreshed, man. I'm
So good.
bright and chipper, ready to go.
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited to meet my first guest because
Uh-huh.
and and then even sometimes I'm just like, what buttons do I push again? How
Right,
does this
because you've been
podcast thing
so
work? I've been gone for 3 days.
that's good. That's a great problem to have.
After 16 years, I'm like, which button do I push?
Right.
Again, I've been gone so long. But no, I think we should do it to everybody. This whole nonsense, you've seen Elon Musk and other people be like, drive training their employees,
Yeah.
when he took over Twitter, he's like, I expect people to sleep on the floor at the
Yeah.
office
Yep.
and that's just abuse, I
Yeah.
think. I think we need to legislate some of this,
Mhm.
really, you know. And but I gotta tell you, my mental health is way better. My
Mhm.
spiritual health is way better.
Right.
My just I hope I'm gonna live longer, maybe.
Sure.
And I'm single and with no kids,
Mhm.
so I have two dogs to make happy, and that's
Uh-huh.
and probably someone I'm dating who's already hating me after a date or two. So I don't have a lot that I have to do, and I hire
Sure.
all the other stuff out, so I don't have to deal with the stuff. But a lot of mothers or fathers or
Mhm.
parents with kids, they got to do the laundry and they got to clean the house, and because you clean the house once, and then by the within a couple days, it's a tornado again,
Right.
and you got to do all this stuff. And I remember living that life back when I was younger, and
Mhm.
you're just like, "Oh god," I mean, I don't mow lawns, I don't do well, I do laundry, but I don't clean bathrooms,
Mhm.
I'll vacuum every now and then, but, there's maids that you can hire for this stuff. And that's the other key too, is I don't know if you talk about this in your book, but that's the other key too the other thing too is to kinda go, "Hey, man, what if I could put this out to somebody else
Mhm.
and they could do a better job and I could spend more time just being happy. I mean,
Mhm.
I know some women love to clean and stuff like that, but
Mhm.
I've even told my girlfriends, I'm like, hey man, let's get this maid back over here.
Mhm.
Cause that way you don't have to deal with, well, I like, no, you don't. Let's get the maid over here. She'll put the little corners on the toilet paper, wash the.
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of these folks that do cleaning professionally, they clean better than anybody I've ever met,
Mhm.
and they might have a problem or something they should look into. But no, they're usually super clean. And why go through the stress of spending 5 hours on your Saturday or Sunday
Mhm.
cleaning stuff, and you're just sitting there going, I'm gonna have to do this again next week,
Yeah.
or you got the kids wandering in with the muddy shoes, and you're like
Mhm.
screaming at them, and by the end of the weekend, everyone hates you. I think that used to be my relationships. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it really is it's an individual choice, and I think it's based on what resources you have available at any given
Mhm.
time.
Yeah,
I think back times of my life, I would have loved that, and it just wasn't an option. When you're living paycheck to paycheck,
yeah.
it's not even something you consider that you're gonna outsource. But
Hmm.
as your circumstances change and the seasons of your lives change, it's worth evaluating what makes sense right now.
Hmm.
What's gonna be the biggest ROI for our joy right now? And that may change as all sorts of factors change. The family dynamic or income or health. There's so many things that impact what we have access to and what some people simply don't have access to.
Yeah, yeah. And even then, it's delegate, delegate to the kids. My
Yeah.
parents, we cleaned and did everything.
Yes.
Not everything, but
A lot.
yeah, ask
Our
for
too.
help. Ask for
Uh-huh.
help. But I'm on board with you on this. I would like to see more of this.
Yeah.
I know we've kind of gone back to where people aren't at home as much. There
Right.
used to be kind of a nice thing about working at home is because you could mix business with pleasure.
Sure.
And it's like, hey, I need to run the dishwasher real quick on some
Mhm.
dishes. You could do that between your Zoom calls or something.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of that, but for the most part, now everyone's kind of, I think most people are going back to the office now. Aren't they forcing everyone back to the office at this point?
For me, it's still a mix. Some of my
Mhm.
clients are in the office full time, some are hybrid. So I work with a mix of all different
Mhm.
kinds of organizations, but I'm certainly seeing it with a number of the public sector organizations that we work for, that many government agencies
Oh, yeah,
that
that's
we
right.
consult for are starting to bring people back on a much more regular basis than we saw just a few years ago.
Yeah, it seems to be really going back the other way, but
Mhm.
I don't know, whatever works. I'm just glad I don't have to do it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you as a testament, taking that Friday off was the
Yes.
best thing I ever did. I felt it that week.
I'm so
And
glad for
just
you.
having more time to decompress. And that's probably speaks to like what we've been talking about when you wrote in
Mhm.
your book is giving your employees a break.
Yep.
You know, I'm an asshole for a boss, so my
Mm.
employees need all the break they can get. I can barely put up with me half the time.
Right, you just fire yourself once a day.
Every day, 2 or 3 times a day, and he just won't leave the office. I tried getting a restraining order against myself one
Doesn't work.
time, and the judge says that's not how that works.
What you're describing about breaks, it's so important because it's actually there's a physiological reason for it, and it's
Mm,
completing the stress cycle.
yeah.
So what you're describing is you have brilliantly, either intentionally or unintentionally, you've given yourself an entire day.
Mhm.
You've given yourself all of Friday to complete that stress cycle. So by Saturday, you're rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
And so many organizations aren't set up that way, where
Mhm.
it's back to back things and there is no break, there's no buffer to actually give our bodies a chance to complete that stress cycle. And so it
Yeah.
just compounds throughout the day and throughout the week and the month, and it just goes on and on.
Yeah, and most people are like, "What's that thing they do on Saturdays? Relaxed clothing, leisure Fridays." You don't have to wear your suit on Friday or whatever it's called.
Mhm. Oh,
Um,
like casual Friday?
Casual
Oh, is
Fridays.
that it? Okay, I'm not
Yeah,
hip,
I don't.
so I wasn't sure.
I work for myself, so I'm casual. I'm always in shorts and flip flops, but it's casual. My
Yeah.
employees one time said to me, they go, how come you get to wear shorts and flip flops and stuff around the office? And I'm like, it's a casual boss's day. And they go, well, but you do that every day. And I'm like,
Right.
every day is casual
There
boss's
we
day
go. That
because
makes
that's
sense.
the only thing that keeps me from spontaneously exploding. But I really think more leaders need to look at this.
Yeah.
I after what I've gone through, at doing the 4-day work week,
Yes.
I'm more productive. I'm
Mhm.
more productive. And kind of the 5th day on Friday, I mean, I'm not lying. I'll get
I
into
believe it.
email a little bit and text. And
Mhm.
sometimes I'll just kind of go through my emails
Yeah.
and see if there's anything I missed. And then I'll kind of like, oh, there's maybe some business opportunities. Let's
Mhm.
talk to this guy. But I
Yeah.
have more time to
Yes.
ponder and to kind of delve into some different things. Or
Mhm.
if I have something like, oh, I always wanted to check on this, that, or the other and find out more. And so I'll take and do that. And so I'm not fully checked out on Fridays, but
Sure.
I'm not on. Like
Exactly.
I'm not on when I'm answering emails. I'm just like blah
Right.
blah 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 blah.
Mhm.
Yeah, everything's fine. But yeah, I'm not having to perform per se. And I imagine technically, when you're at work, I don't have this problem because I don't work for other
Mhm.
people. When you're at work, uh, you're on because your boss is watching and you're worried about,
Sure.
you can't sleep at your desk.
Yes, right.
So,
And I think there's what you're describing is called social stress, this idea
mhm.
of the stress that we feel in social situations. And sometimes relationships at work are making it so much harder to get the work done. I worked for a leader once who was like, work would be easy if it weren't for the people. It's like, well, I'm not sure how we get to do that. How do you get to work without people?
Be pretty.
But yeah, it does impact our stress levels when those relationships are not quite where we want them to be.
There you go. Well, as we go out, Amy, anything else you want to plug as we go out?
Thank you for asking. I think the only other thing I would say is to just start small. And
Hmm.
maybe folks can't take every Friday off forever in the way you've described, but what if they could take one? Are they
Yeah.
sitting on any vacation days or any PTO days?
Mhm.
Are there ways to be thoughtful and strategic to lower our stress and increase our joy? That's what I'd
Mhm.
love to leave your listeners with.
There you go. I love that. I had to learn that as a business entrepreneur to take weekends off. And
Yeah.
when I vacation, I try not to do it on the same time the whole world freaking vacations
Yes.
or all of America. Like
Yeah.
all my friends are like, hey, we got a 3-day weekend. We're gonna go to the lake.
Nope.
And then you see them later and you go, hey, how's that lake? I don't know. We spent 5 hours in bumper to bumper traffic of everyone going to the lake and then all the way home,
Yeah.
bumper to bumper traffic. And then when we were on the lake, it was bumper to bumper traffic of boats. I'm like, that sounds like hell. And you spent 10 hours in a car.
Right.
Like, I'd rather be at work than spend 10 hours in a car.
Yeah.
Like, and so I do my vacations on the weekends. I learned,
Mhm.
and so I learned I go to bed and breakfast. I go to what do they call them, staycations,
Sure.
and that way I'm not flying where oh, it's Christmas and 2,000 flights got canceled.
Yeah.
And so I try and alternate that, so they don't have to traffic, and I can actually enjoy my vacation. But now having those 3 days makes all the difference. So
Great.
if I think you should hire a lobbyist to see if you can't get some laws passed on the 4-day work week.
Made a note of it.
Yeah, there you go. All right, well, Amy, thank you very much for coming on the show. Give us your .coms as we go out.
AmyLeneker.com.
There you go. Thank you very much, Amy. Really appreciate it. It's been fun to have you.
Thanks, Chris. Great to meet you.
There you go. Now I'm going to get hate letter mail from everybody. How dare you only work 4 days a week? You're a
That's
heathen.
okay.
You horrible person. The rest of us are working hard and you're just being lazy. But you can write those emails to me. That's fine. I'll sit with my martini while I'm drinking them on the back porch with my feet up on Fridays.
There you go.
Folks, pick up the book wherever fine books are sold. It's entitled Cheers to Monday, the surprisingly simple method to lead and live with less stress and more joy. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next time.
You've been listening to the most amazing, intelligent podcast ever made to improve your brain and your life. Warning, consuming too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast can lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, and irresistible sexy. Consume in regularly moderated amounts. Consult a doctor for any resulting brain bleed.
All right, Amy.